This was not just, oh, time healed all. I did not trust him, and he had to rebuild. We did boundary work. We did a full therapeutic disclosure. I watched him and continue to watch him. I watched him show up and hold his head back up after he had to really walk in shame for a long time. And it did not happen overnight.
Partner betrayal is disorienting, heartbreaking, and results in absolute confusion for the betrayed partner. You worry that nothing in your life was real, and you fear that you will never be able to trust your spouse or yourself again. Well, welcome to the Rebuilding Trust podcast with Carol the Coach. I'm Carol Jurgensen-Sheets, aka Carol the Coach, and what I can promise is that when you listen to my podcast, you'll begin to believe that there is hope. We will be hearing from experts all over the world who specialize in problematic sexual behavior, sex addiction, and infidelity. Together, we will be asking them the hard questions about how you both can rebuild safety, find strengths, grieve and mourn what you had, what you never had, and what you fear you will never find again. The truth is that rebuilding trust is possible, and I am going to show you the steps to working together to build a whole new marriage based on the honesty, authenticity, and transparency that your marriage deserves. Rebuilding Trust with Carol the Coach.
Well, finally, Maddie Corman, I get to have you on Rebuilding Trust, and that's my podcast, and it's been such an important one to teach couples that they can rebuild their relationship if they're both working. And I don't know that there's ever been a couple that has worked harder than you. It's been 10 years since D-Day.
10 years since D-Day. And Carol, you're right. I am on brand for you. And you have been one of the people who has believed in our recovery as a couple from early on. And I don't know that I've ever specifically thanked you for that, but now I have the opportunity to do that. And yes, recovery for both members of a betrayed partnership. I do believe that both people have to work really hard. I tell the women that I talk to and work with that there has to be some gentleness also, and just breathing in some gentle, because gosh, do we work so hard, and it is exhausting. And sometimes it's important to remember that even some gentle moments can lead towards healing.
Well, I know that is your message, and that's certainly our message at APSATS for partner betrayal, and also through ITAP and their CPIP program. I mean, it's all about taking care of yourself no matter what is happening in your partnership, no matter what is happening in your life. I don't even feel like I have to say it, but Maddie Corman is an actress from age 14 up. I mean, it was probably before 14, but when did you get your Hollywood star?
I do not have a Hollywood star, but I have been in a lot of Hollywood movies and TV shows. And you're right. I was definitely a little actress in school plays and community theater, but I would say, do my first professional job around 13, 14. That's true.
Yeah, because you did the
after
school series.
Exactly.
Right?
I was on a couple of after school specials, which if you're my generation, you will know what that is. Back in the day, we really didn't have that many channels, and we certainly didn't have that many shows starring young people. So that was really exciting.
Well, and Maddie, you even talked about topics that weren't talked about back then. I mean, you talked about... I know. So you have just been a pioneer in the field of working through exploitation and drama and trauma forever. And you've been in lots and lots of sitcoms and television shows, and you are the epitome of what I call post-traumatic growth. And you know, my stick is that we got to get couples, partners, addicts, over there to post-traumatic growth where they're helping other people and they feel good about themselves. Yeah. And really, when I think about what you went through, and we're going to talk to our audience about that.
Yeah.
And also how you turn that all into positivity and post-traumatic growth. Will you tell our listening audience a little bit about your struggle, what you went through?
Yes, I will.
Accidentally brave.
I'll start by saying in the early days, months, weeks, maybe even a couple of years post D-Day, if someone had said the term post-traumatic growth, I might have punched them in the nose. I couldn't have even imagined. All I was trying to do was catch my breath. I felt like when I was breathing, there were razor blades in my throat. I mean, I was really not well. I wasn't hoping for joy. I don't even know that I was hoping for serenity, Carol. I was hoping that my kids, I have 3 kids, I was hoping they wouldn't be ruined forever. And so the fact that I'm here today, 10 years later, with so much love and joy and hope to share it truly is a miracle. And it was some hard work. So my story's dramatic, not because I'm an actress, but just because it's extreme. So trigger warning. And as I've learned, everybody's story is dramatic and extreme if it's your own story. So just to take you back, I was married for about, I guess I had been with my husband for 20 years. We were married about 17 years. Had a really nice looking life. A daughter and twin boys, lived in the suburbs outside of New York City. Had chosen that because he was a director and producer of TV shows, and I was an actress, but we really wanted this kind of more suburban life for the kids, and for the family was really important, the center of our lives. Maybe because I had been a kid actress, I also felt like I've done that, and now whatever I can do to be a great mom, and I still worked, but certainly I was the one more at home with the kids. And it was summer. We had been living in the suburbs for about, 15 years, very much a part of this little community. My boys had gone to sleepaway camp for the first time, and they got home the night before this happened. We had a great reunion. I was working. I didn't work all the time, but I had a guest spot that I was shooting in Brooklyn. So I got up super early and was leaving the house. And any mom probably knows this feeling of, it was great. It was like, oh my gosh, I'm leaving before the animals. We had, a cat and a dog and the kids, and everybody was asleep. So it was like this really beautiful, quiet morning. Kissed everybody goodbye, got in my car. My husband was going to be in charge of everybody for the day because it was summer. Kids didn't have school. And I got a call around 5 a.m. from my daughter, my 16-year-old daughter, screaming. And it was just chilling because I just know my kids well enough. I've heard all kinds of screams and cries, and this was something I had never heard. Oh, and even talking about this 10 years later, I can tell you my chest is tightening right now. My throat hurts. I feel heavy behind my eyes, just even retelling it. And I've told the story now so many times. That was the beginning of D-Day. The police were in our house. They had found something on my husband's computer. I didn't even understand what this could be. I didn't know that my husband was watching any pornography, let alone that he had downloaded and viewed some illegal pornography, which is now referred to as CSAM. I still didn't understand that in the moment. I won't tell the whole story because I actually have written about it and performed my version of it. But my whole world changed in that moment. Our whole worlds changed. And there was this giant secret that was out. Within
Well,
24 hours, the press, it wasn't just our little family finding out. Within 24 hours, it was in every newspaper, local and national, all over Facebook and any kind of social media. And I didn't understand that this was an addiction. I didn't understand anything. And as I was just digesting this shocking news, the whole world was also looking in our windows.
So let me just get this straight. You're going to work. It's early in the morning. You hear this blood-curdling scream that you've never heard from your daughter because she says what?
The police are here.
Okay. And the police were there because your husband had been looking at child porn.
Correct.
Now, Maddie is an actress, and she does a one-woman play, and it's actually now a movie. It's on HBO, and it's called Accidentally Brave. This was all new news to her, which for most of our partners, it's new. There may be an inkling. Partners may have seen some pornography, but they had no idea what the depth of what was going on. And so, one, I want to say to our listening audience, you've been there with Maddie. Maddie's been there with you. And two, your mother bear took over. You heard that sound in your daughter. You're worried first and foremost about the kids.
Yeah.
And now you're in robotic state. You're just going through the motions, right? And you're being exposed. It's always terrible when it's exposed to the whole community. And
it is. It's terrible. I don't wish public shame and humiliation on anyone. And it's my story. So I will say that there have been gifts from that, including people reaching out to me who long before I recognized that this was an addiction, an illness, a problem, other people did. And I'm sure, I will never know because it's not my story, but I'm sure I would have kept it a secret. And many, many women I meet and have spoken to have told no one, whether their D-Day is discovering massage parlors or affair partners or sex workers,
prostitutes,
of any kind, or their husband was arrested, but it wasn't in the paper. I completely understand wanting to keep this a secret, but that's another kind of hell as well, because you're walking through the world and you're bleeding from the eyeballs, but no one sees it. Your heart is broken and you're trying to go along. And I suppose one of the gifts was no one expected anything from my family once this was out. I mean, there was no way we were expected to go to the baby shower for a while, or other things. But it was also excruciating to experience this while being watched.
Okay. And so can I ask you, how did the kids do? I mean, I don't know if you want to share their story.
It's a complicated and amazing question because, as I say in the play, when I write about this, I don't know how to tell this story without talking about my kids, and it's their story to tell. But I can't tell my story without including them. I will say this because it was so important for me to hear. My 3 kids are 3 different people, and they're each thriving right now. They each had different reactions. They each continue to have different reactions. They are 3 amazing humans, and we are very close as a family. And spoiler alert, I am still married. My boys are now seniors in college. My daughter is doing incredibly well. They all have wonderful friendships, relationships, and they're close with their dad and with me. And that did not happen overnight. But it is the truth. That is the truth of right now. Are they traumatized? Yes, they are. I mean, that's just a fact. They're traumatized by a lot of this. And it certainly has affected them. And they're funny, non-judgmental, deep, kind, complicated people who are doing okay, better than okay. And that was all I wanted. That was that was like the one gig, and I blew it, I thought. But I'm knocking on wood, but they're really doing all right. Not perfect, but really well. And we are doing well as a family.
Well, so and you put so much hard work into that. I mean, it's been 10 years. And how many years of couples work?
10. You know, I mean, we didn't start the CSATs. Well, first of all, my husband went to a 45-day inpatient right away. Which, again, I want to acknowledge, you know, the severity of the situation, the privilege that we were able to afford that, or at least we thought we could afford it. Little did I know how much this would cost. But yeah, so he went right away to the Meadows, to Gentle Path. And I think in a lot of ways that was the beginning of our family work, because they had a family week there. And I learned a lot at that, through that program. We each got a CSAT I got a CSAT even while he was there, because I had someone reach out to me and say, you cannot go to just a regular therapist. And I believe there are coaches and therapists that are not CSATs that can do this work. You being one of them, me being one of them, actually now I've become a coach, but you need to have some deep understanding of this situation. Otherwise, it can actually be really damaging. And I was seeing a really wonderful therapist, but she was not equipped to deal with what I was going through. And I couldn't take other people's judgment, including therapists who didn't understand this. I needed to be able to experience all my own anger and shame and pain and have someone barely blink an eye. I have had and have an amazing CSAT therapist who, and at the beginning, we didn't do official couples work. We did, he would have sessions when he got out of rehab. He would have sessions with my CSAT, and I would have sessions with his. The first session I had with his CSAT was huge for me, because I believed that this person working with my husband saw me, and that was really important to me. And my husband he still is, but he was very charming and very smart. And I was like, he's just going to fool somebody. And I saw that this therapist he was working with knew all his tricks, and that he was going to include me and my pain in that treatment. And that allowed me to go over and do my work, and not be obsessively worrying about what was going on in his work. I would say a few months after that, we got an official couples person. We also went to Essanon, which is a 12-step program. And my husband was doing his own 12-step work, and Essanon had couples meetings that I know it doesn't work for everyone. It was really helpful for me and for my partner to be around other couples going through this. I was worried about that, because I thought our story was so extreme that we would be othered even there. Even there, I'd be the worst. And I didn't feel that in my experience. We also when we moved, we had to sell our house because of financial fallout and legal fallout. And we moved from the suburbs into the city, and there wasn't a couples meeting specifically for sex addiction or porn addiction, but we went to something called Chapter 9. I mention all of these because they're also free. We did a lot of things that cost money, but we also did a lot of things that didn't cost money.
Right.
And going to Chapter 9 was helpful because, again, that's not even specifically for the S programs, but it's for any couple that either member of the couple is in any 12-step program. And I was like, well, this isn't going to work. And it did, partly because we looked around at people struggling and people trying and people learning and people admitting that being married is hard. Being married while in recovery is really hard. So yes, we've done a lot of work, and it has not been a straight line. I have not been graceful at times. I was enraged, Carol. I had a kind of fury that I have never experienced before or since.
Your amygdala was on overdrive.
I mean, anybody who thinks betrayal trauma is not real could just hook me up, and I am the poster girl woman. I lost a ton of weight. I was a small person to begin with, but I couldn't eat. Then finally I started eating, but my system was so on overdrive that I couldn't keep weight on. I was shaking. I was, like you said, my amygdala, I would spin into fury in a way that really did take over my whole body. I was numb sometimes, devastated other times, trying to just keep the kids going. And I was also worried about my husband, to be honest. I was worried he might hurt himself. There were so many things to worry about. I think in some ways, this recovery of ours for the betrayed partner is long, because in some ways, even though I was doing work all along the road, once I saw my kids were all right, and once I saw that my husband was sober and all right, I think that was when some more feelings for me and some more grief for me came up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
so
anger
it's
is
not
such
done. I'm not done. I still do the work. I am in a group of a paid group. This is in addition to 12-step. I go to a group of women led by a CSAT. We are all, I would say, further, years into, and some women are married and some are not in this group, but we are affected by what we have been through. And it's not the same kind of group that, or at least the topics aren't the same as when I was in early recovery, but there's still some real deep comfort about being around other people who have been through this and who get it.
Well, and for those people that don't know your story, obviously you did this one woman play, Accidentally Brave, and I would encourage everybody to go to HBO Max to be able to get that movie, because your portrayal of all the emotions that you went through and are still going through 10 years later is validating and inspiring. Because you're so honest.
I hope so, Carol. That's why I did it. I would say that part of, it was a selfish thing in some ways to write about it and perform it, because it did help me. But I also truly wanted to be of service and continue to want to be of service. When this happened to me, I really felt a kind of loneliness I had never felt before. And I could not find stories like mine. I had one woman who I refer to in the film as my angel, who reached out to me, who I hadn't known before, who was so generous and willing to share her story with me. And it got me through. It really did. I have amazing friends and family, and they could not help me because they were as scared as I was, and they didn't have any experience, strength, or hope to share with me. They loved me. They loved my husband. My husband had been a really good father and friend and son, but nobody knew what to say or do. But this stranger became like a sister to me. And by the way, her partner's acting out was very different from mine, but she was able to read this horrible story, because the headlines were horrible, and recognize a family in trouble. She was able to find me and say, and she would tell me her story and the details were different. And I go, well, that's different. And she'd go, no, my feelings are this. And I'd go, oh, that's exactly how I feel. So early on, I understood the power of community, the power of women and men who've been betrayed coming together and sharing their stories. And even though I wasn't at the time a therapist or a coach or anything, I knew the power of storytelling And as an actress, that's just something that I know how to do.
And you believed in it. And you believed it inherently.
I did, because I was like, I'm going to die from this. This will kill me. And it didn't. And not only that, I want to share that, I love my life now. I actually can't believe that I have memories. I thought it was going to be, well, I had some joy up until D-Day, and everything from here on out will be tinged with sadness and regret and bittersweet at best. And I'm here to tell you that is not my story. And I can't even believe that, but it's true. And I have a friend who, the movie got made and it went off of HBO, and now it's back on, honestly, because people like your listeners reached out and said, oh, we want to be able to find it. So that was nice. But I told my friend, oh, it went off, but it's coming back on. And she was like, Maddie, I love you, but aren't you tired of talking? And I told her I was doing your podcast, and she said, aren't you tired of talking about this? And don't you want to move on? And I think she's protective of my husband and my children as well. And I said, Daisy, we out her. She's probably not going to listen. I love you. And yes, I want to move on, and I have moved on, but there is not a day that goes by that this does not affect my life. Mm-hmm. I don't know that there will be a day. And that doesn't mean I don't have good days. That doesn't mean I don't have beautiful new things coming into my life, but this is a life-changing event. And when my mother died when I was 16, and I feel like people really pushed me because it made them uncomfortable to stop talking about her and stop talking about it. And I did, but it didn't stop affecting me. It still affects me 40 years later. Mm-hmm. So I don't love talking about the worst day. I mean, D-Day was the worst. Well, the day my mom died was the worst, but this was the second worst and more shocking. I don't love talking about it, but I know that if I don't, that it will live inside of me. And I'd rather it not live inside of me. And I'd rather share that with someone else who's so lonely. Mm-hmm. And who can hear our voices.
And I think you're intuitive enough that if there comes a point when you want to walk away a bit from all this, you will do that. Yeah. But what you've actually done is not only done the one woman play that was in New York on Broadway. I think we were going to see it, Stephanie Carnes and myself and some other professionals, and then COVID hit.
COVID shut us down. And actually, we almost didn't film it because of COVID. But Steven Soderbergh, who's an amazing director and filmmaker, had come to see the show. He actually came on a night where it was all Jennifer Acker and Gary Katz, who are two amazing New York CSATs, bought out the theater. And she's actually my therapist. I'll show off about her, but and I love her very much. And she and Gary, who's another wonderful CSAT, bought out the theater.
I love Gary.
And love Gary. Mm-hmm. He's amazing. And they bought out the theater and brought a bunch of professionals to see it. But Soderbergh was only in town one night and had asked if he could come that night. So he came that night. So it was a very powerful, wild night. And after that, he said, I'd like to film the show, which was amazing. And then COVID happened and shut us all down. But we were able to do it partly because it's a solo show. I didn't have to wear a mask because I wasn't talking to anybody except the camera. And we did do it during not high early COVID, but a little later in COVID, and we didn't have an audience. And when I filmed it, I was nervous about that because I love being a theater. I'm a theater person. I like having a stage and an audience to tell this story. But there was something that made the filmed version is different. I think it's more intimate in a way because I just imagined talking to one person on the other end of the camera rather than performing for a couple hundred people. So I'm proud of it. And it's complicated, like you said. I don't think I would never say never, but I don't think I would do the show again. You know, I did it 8 shows a week for a couple of months, and it was exhausting. But I'm really glad that it's captured and that it can be used. I know they show it at certain retreats, at certain rehab centers. And also, I'm really happy with the people who've reached out to me who have nothing to do with this world, who have seen it and gone, oh, you know, I have a little more compassion for men. I have a little more compassion for an understanding of a friend of mine who stayed in a marriage that I say I would have left, but who knows? You know, there's so much shame in our society surrounding this, and shame for the partners, shame for leaving, shame for staying. It's so sad to me, and so pushes so many of us into even more isolation.
And they don't have, a lot of females don't have the backbone. They don't have the self-esteem they need anyway. And then something like this happens, which just knocks them off their game. And, you know, it's up to us to build our self-esteem and to find ourselves and find our voice and to talk about things. And you emulate that again. And I love your friend who's being protective and thinks maybe it's time to move on. But she doesn't understand post-traumatic growth. And she also doesn't understand that you will, if you need to, you'll take a break.
Yeah, and that I get something out of it too. It costs me something, Carol. I'll go lie down after I talk to you. It'll bring up something. I'll go look at my husband and maybe get a little activated and then maybe give him a hug. I don't know. But it also helps me. And telling the story has helped me because have I received criticism? Yes, I have. Have I received so many people saying thank you and saying they learned something and saying they feel less alone? Yes. And I want to tell you, the reason the show is called Accidentally Brave is because everybody was saying to me, oh, you're so brave. You're so brave. I didn't choose this. I mean, I do feel like I met the situation the best I could, but I'm not inherently a brave person. And in fact, one of the gifts of this has been, I have been forced to let go of trying to make everybody like me because I really want to. And I was really good at it, or at least I thought I was. And this took that away from me. And I was really mad about that. But it also allowed me to go, this is who I am. I am making a decision that I have to get really quiet and really not consult the 47 people that I would usually poll about every decision I make, and really go, okay, I'm going to listen to my heart. I'm going to listen to, I got real spiritual. I'm going to listen to the universe, to higher power. I'm going to listen to a few professionals that I really, really trust. And I'm not going to look outside for validation. And that's really scary. It's a real leap of faith. And you know, one of the reasons I'm glad the movie is out there and on something as, I don't know, real as HBO Max is that most of the stories that we are exposed to are, there's a bad guy, he does something bad, we kick him out, and then we salute the woman who kicked him out and the bad guy goes away. And that is a story. But there are a lot of other stories, and addiction and mental illness are not black and white. You know, there's so much gray. And the thought that partners trying to navigate this are being shamed is so hurtful and sad to me. And we have to create safe spaces like you have and books like you have authored where people can see themselves. Because I work with women, I have women reaching out to me every day. I mean, that's one of the reasons I went and got my coaching certificate was I couldn't keep up. And I wanted to know what I was talking about beyond just my experience. But one of the big things that I hear, and I'm sure you do too, over and over, is a woman like me doesn't stay in a situation like this. And it's because, and so getting away from that and going, okay, let's get rid of that narrative. Let's just look at what we're looking at. And I think that I'm really happy to talk to you 10 years later, because the first round of press I did when I was doing the play, I was really apologetic and almost embarrassed about my story. And I'm much less apologetic now. I'm proud of my husband. I'm proud of our marriage. I'm proud of my family. And I would say that our relationship is way more intimate than anything I ever dreamed of. And I'm not just saying, yeah.
I'm so glad you're saying that, because the other thing I want to say, I mean, the podcast is called Rebuilding Trust.
Yeah.
And what we always say is you have to create a whole new marriage.
That's true.
And you and your husband are doing that.
We are. And I want to be really clear with you, Carol, and with your listeners. This was not just, oh, time healed all. I did not trust him, and he had to rebuild that. We did a lot of the things you suggest. We did boundary work. Mm-hmm. We did a full therapeutic disclosure. I watched him and continue to watch him, not watch him like monitoring him, but watching him placing his recovery first. Mm-hmm. I watched him show up and hold his head back up after he had to really walk in shame for a long time. And it did not happen overnight. And the boundaries have changed. They've maybe softened. But yeah, it was a lot of work. And
well, I always say, actually, I worked with addicts first, and they were getting healthier. Yeah. And I'd say, well, what's going on in your life? And they'd say, my wife is in the fetal position on the floor, or she's waking me up in the middle of the night and she's punching me out. And, this kind of trauma changes everybody. And when they get out of their addiction, they are so traumatized by the trauma they've caused.
Yeah.
And your husband is that same way. He realized the trauma. He watched the kids. He knew the drama. And the two of you worked so hard. And he has actually decided to work into post-traumatic growth. And what's he doing these days?
He went back to school. He got his social work license, and he is CSAT pending. He is, and he works with male addicts in a private practice in New York. For a while there, he was working with drug and alcohol addicts as well, but now he's exclusively working with sex addicts in recovery. He leads a couple of men's groups and has private clients. And there have been times where I have had a client, like I've coached the wife and he has been the therapist for the husband. We've done a couple of disclosures together. I mean, it's pretty amazing. I think he's really good at what he does. I also am well aware that he is a therapist that includes the partner's experience in treatment.
Partner sensitive.
He is partner sensitive. He has been punched in the middle of the night and that's not something I'm proud of. But, I have a client who was telling me that that's something she's experiencing. So thank you for naming that, because she's like, I've never hit anybody. And I said, I get it. And it's not okay. We want to be in our integrity also, but there's something I think about being able to just having a burning desire for our beloved to understand the level of pain that we are in, and words don't always suffice. It's one of the reasons I wanted to do the show also, because I am not a poet. I am not a painter, but I knew I could. I knew I was a pretty good actress. And to be able to recapture the primal screams that came out of me, they didn't sound human, what was coming out of me. And I wanted to not just be all neat and tidy and be on a podcast with you looking semi put together. I wanted to show the mess of the middle of the night on the bathroom floor and the pounding of the fists, because it's not pretty. And we have to be able to talk about it in order to get through it. And it's not fair. It's not fair that the addicts have so much more help and in some ways have this giant weight lifted off of them when they start telling the truth. And we, the betrayed partners, can just have that heaviness come right back onto us. So it's not even. We don't have a recovery that runs parallel or at the same time. I also work with a lot of people because of my story who have public shame or legal issues, and that's extra, as the kids say, because there's only so much. There are times where families cut off a woman who stays with a partner who maybe is on the registry or something like that. I'm actually through, I know you know Marnie Breeker and Helping Couples Heal, and I've started a group. So if anyone out there is a partner of someone dealing with legal issues, we have a group and it's so powerful. And these women, it's all women so far, are so amazing. And by the way, they're partners. Recovery is amazing, but there's not a lot of places, even within this community, sometimes there's othering. So that's important to me, that people know that there's hope. And by the way, I want to be really clear that my husband does have really good recovery and has worked really hard. I am not a martyr. I'm not somebody who said, stand by your man no matter what. Like, this is something that we have worked on together. And if you are somebody who's with someone in early recovery, I'm telling you, there is hope. There is long-term sobriety. My husband still goes to meetings. He's not the oldest or longest time there. There are retreats that these guys are still going on, and they're committed. And it works if you work it. So I believe that. And
I do.
And you see the other, it's a real chance to stay with someone who struggles with this. And God bless you, Carol, for working with the partners, because it's not we're not an easy bunch, we're really, really traumatized, as you know, and it's a different kind of trauma than coming back from a war, which is horrible, or having been in a horrible accident. Terrible, terrible. But if you're trying to stay in relation with the person who hurt you more than anything in the world, but you're still like, who's doing pickup tonight? Or I'm going to sleep in a bed with you. I mean, that is really a complicated kind of recovery. So,
right. Complicated. And it is a decision-making process every second of the day.
Yes, absolutely. And it's a decision that I believe that we should have a moment to decide. Everybody wanted to know if I was staying or if I was going. And even in the selling of the show, people were like, oh, we want to see, did she stay? Did she go? And I think one of the reasons I wanted to write the story is it's not like, oh, so I just decided that day I was going to stay. Absolutely not. Every woman I know who has stayed or who has left struggles back and forth and back and forth. And my marriage today, I don't know if my husband would be thrilled to hear this, but it's a different marriage. It is not till death do we part. I do say, how are we today? How we doing? I'm checking in with you. Are you checking in with me? Let's take a look at this. And that might seem not romantic, but for me, that is romantic. For me, that's authentic, and authentic is better than the alternative.
Authentic, honest, and transparent. And every marriage should do that. But people get into the groove of doing their own thing, and they forget to check in.
Yeah.
So, Maddie Corman, you inspire me. I want to say to our listening audience, now I know she sounds like she had the fairy tale life. And this woman and her husband have gone through hell and back. They continue to have to deal with things that come up that they had no idea were going to come up. I mean, this is a process. And you had said you don't even like calling it a journey.
No.
Right?
No, I find that word a little overused. But no, it's not, we have a lot of consequences still. And there are friends and family members that have walked away. This is not without a lot of loss, a lot of loss. And I still have fear, you know, if and when we move, when people say, oh, I saw the film, I have that half a beat where I'm like, you know, people's judgment, and it's my story, and I don't wish it on anyone, but I'm embracing the good parts, and I really, really want people to know that I understand and see your pain, and I also understand if you're giving someone who you love a chance. I mean, someone early on said to me, I see addiction as a thief, and I know that I'm not the worst thing I ever did when I was in my addiction. So I can see that in your husband. And I couldn't see it, but I borrowed somebody else's faith. And so if I can do that for anybody this morning or whenever you're listening to this, I hope that's possible.
Well, absolutely. And thank you so much for doing the show. For anybody who didn't stay with their husband or is really seriously contemplating divorce, that's okay too. You've
100%.
got to stay true to yourself, what your needs
100%. And I want to say I stayed because, well, for a myriad of reasons. We can do another podcast about that. But it was not, I stayed and he's sober. And that's a daily, you know, check-in about that as well. And I applaud anyone who's just stepping into this kind of recovery. And really what I got out of it is reclaiming myself. It's not about whether the marriage lasts or not. It's about taking, like you said, the opportunity to go, okay, I'm going to take this trauma and I'm going to grow down, grow up, grow in, all the things that sometimes as women we're not encouraged to do past a certain
That's all about
point.
Unleashing your power, right?
Yeah. Some days that's easier than others.
Okay, so how can they get a hold of you? I know you're a coach. I know you're busier than you want to be.
I am, but I love hearing from people. MaddieCorman.com is my website, and there's a way to write me there. I'm on Instagram, either at Accidentally Brave or at Ms. Maddie Corman. And yeah, that's the way to find me. I do have some groups and some retreats that I do through Helping Couples Heal. So you can also check that out. But feel free to reach out and let me know your thoughts about the film, or if you want to do a private session. I love that. I love sharing my experience, strength, and hope, and answering specific questions if I can. And Carol, it's such an honor to be your friend. I'm so lucky that, again, through this horrible thing that happened, I have gotten to meet some of the most amazing people, and you are one of them.
Well, thank you very much. And take care, and we will talk soon. Maybe about parenting next.
Oh, I think that's a really good idea. And I would love to do an episode like that about telling the kids, how old the kids, different kinds of kids. I think that's a great idea. Anytime, just let me know.
Okay. Take care, Maddie, and thank you. Mwah.
Thank you, Carol. Have a wonderful day. Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. And as I say at the end of every podcast, you know, there'll only be one of you at all times. Fearlessly have the courage to be yourself. We'll catch you next week for more Rebuilding Trust with Carol the Coach.